and unmute. Well, I did that all right. Woof, I feel like Steven Spielberg there for a minute. Who's left me in charge of that? I'm not sure. Well, good morning and welcome to a live daily ramble. Usually, as you know, me, Gary and Nick, we do daily rambles constantly and give you some up-to-date information, our take on things, whatever it may be. But I decided today to do it live. Why not? I'm off for the day today. Just had a lovely swim. And yeah, so I thought I'd come live. So today, just my take on things. You know the characteristics of Claret and Booze, me, Gary and Nick. We're all different people. So if you like what you see today, don't forget, like the show. If you hit the bell notification, you'll be informed as and when we go live. And if you really like us, which we hope you do, then why not subscribe to us at Claret and Booze on YouTube. Okay, so, you know, there's a lot of little tidbits to talk about today. And as I said, I thought I'd go live and get some interaction. Let's just see if anyone's already in the chat. We've got Eastside Views. Good morning to you, Eastside. Eastside's off to Denmark tonight. Good luck over there in Silkeborg. Hope all goes well. Hello there, Andy. Nice to see you as well. And we've got P-Gads from Detroit. So quite a few people watching. If you've got any comments, please don't be shy. Put them in there, or any questions you may have. Okay, so first things first. As we know, last weekend's fixtures were cancelled due to the sudden and tragic passing of Her Majesty the Queen. We're all a little bit excited, aren't we? Because the fixture against Everton has been confirmed as will be going ahead on Sunday. So that'll be nice to get back to football. As I said, not a problem with the Premier League fixtures being cancelled last weekend, but when you see other sports going ahead at the weekend, such as cricket, the rugby premiership, it does fill you a little bit with annoyance. Not because you haven't got respect for the Queen, but it starts to make you think that you're a second-class citizen because you like football. But as I say, very happy to see that the fixtures will be going ahead at the weekend. A couple have been cancelled. Chelsea at home to Liverpool, for obvious reasons, policing numbers for the Queen's passing over the weekend, etc. Police probably haven't got the manpower to help out with that fixture as well. Palace Brighton, the Where's Wally derby, as I like to call it, that's not going ahead. I thought it was cancelled because of this, you know, the Queen's issue. But apparently it was already cancelled because of the train strike that was meant to be going ahead. The train strike has since been cancelled or overturned. But they're still not going to go ahead with Palace Brighton purely because they can't get tickets sold in time, apparently. But yeah, so West Ham are back, Everton away, the Onana derby, as Nick likes to call it. Yeah, it is a big game for obvious reasons. Everton haven't won a game yet. I know we haven't won many ourselves. Everton haven't won a game. They've drawn 4. Good news for us is that Jordan Pickford, who to some extent has sort of single-handedly kept them in games this season, especially against Liverpool, he was phenomenal. Jordan Pickford is out for this game with a thigh strain picked up in the Merseyside derby. He'll be out for some time. So that's good news for West Ham United. But apart from that, we're pretty much running at full strength, apart from the obvious absentees, Aguerd, to name but a few. But hopefully everyone else is fully fit. Skamaka has got over his illness. But it'll be interesting to see what happens. As Peter says here, the Everton game is a must-win going into the international break. Yeah, I agree. I think, you know, winning in Europe on Thursday and then hopefully beating Everton away on Sunday will give the squad, will give the club the lift that we obviously need. People sort of, you know, take lightly these Europa Conference League games, but I can't, you know, you win a game, it G's the team up. You win a game, it creates momentum, and that's what you hope that the European Conference games bring. I know that some changes will be made between the two games, of course, but, you know, most of the players will be involved one way or another, even if it's just as an unused sub. So, you know, these things breed confidence. in the team. So, yes, Peter, I agree. It's a must-win game. East side, Everton game for sure, as we are nailed on to lose that. Thursday we'll win. Okay. So, East side thinks the Everton game we won't win. I'm generally always overly optimistic, people say. I never back West Ham to lose. Maybe that's heart. Maybe that's heart sometimes over head. But supporting West Ham, I've just always got to be optimistic. Everton aren't pulling up any trees. Okay, you could say we ain't, but I think there's more to come out of this team. And for want of sounding like a broken record, I just think that what we underestimate as fans sometimes is the transition that we're going through. It's a massive transition. And yes, people are going to say, well, that's Moyes' fault for not bringing in reinforcements in the January transfer window. To some extent, I agree. But with the amount of bodies in and out of the club that we've had, there's no doubt that it takes time to bed new players in. Okay? Doesn't matter how good these players are. Paqueta, he's a fantastic player, obviously. And not only would it take him time to bed in, it will take our existing players time to get onto his wavelength. Because of the type of player he is, he's 2 or 3 steps ahead a lot of the time. But I'm looking forward to the Everton game. I'm just looking forward to football coming back. I know it was only a week cancellation of fixtures, but it always seems a long time to me, a week in football, especially as a fan, as we all are. So, yeah, Everton for me, huge game. Onana, he's been all right for Everton, I believe. I mean, Eastside says in the chat that Onana's going to dominate us. I don't think he's going to dominate us. If you think he's going to dominate us, then you think he's better than Declan Rice. I'm not sure, Eastside. I respect your opinion, but I'm not having it. Eastside's our favourite Moyes fan, by the way. Everton will look like prime Barcelona against us. You watch. Maybe they will, but they are the home team. So home teams generally do have more possession. But yes, I know we like to play counter-attacking football. Who we got here? Darren, bugger me, you're live at a reasonable time in Thailand. Trust you are all well. Come on your ones. Yeah, hello, Darren. Sorry, mate. We don't live in Thailand, and Tuesdays is my day off of work in the cabin in London, so this might become regular. I prefer it, to be honest with you, than recording videos and Nick moaning at me about editing, Who else we got? We've got Aldi Alias. Good day, peeps. Hope you are all well. Nick's in the chat. Eastside, I'm negative, but you take it to a whole new level. We have the players, but the wrong manager, sadly. We've spoken about this and we've done this to death because it's going to go on and on and on. And I'm actually starting to think, I don't think what Moyes done for us or has done for us over the last couple of years will truly sink in for a lot of people until he's gone. And that's a problem for me because I know what you mean. I know he can be rigid and stuck in his ways. I totally get that. But it's not all doom and gloom at the minute for me. If you saw the podcast that Antonio did recently, where he suggested that Moyes, even if we go a goal down, he likes to keep it tight for 10 minutes after conceding and then go for it in the last 10 minutes. Nick took it a different way. You can read into it any way you want. And obviously, we all have our own bias, let's be honest, as fans. We all see what we want to see and we all take it how we want to take it. Football, to me, is a game of chess, right? We ain't Manchester City. We're not blessed with the quality that Manchester City or Liverpool have, okay? We can't go and play open, expansive football week in, week out, home and away. We haven't got the quality to do that, or we didn't. But the transition is coming now. Now, if you listen to what Antonio says, I don't take it as a negative personally. And I think Antonio doesn't see it as a negative. Otherwise, I don't think he'd be talking about it, especially as he's still employed by the club and Moyes is still his manager. I just think that we need to be careful to keep judging everything Moyes says or people say about Moyes as a negative. I know he's got his faults. I'm not getting away from that. But, I'm not having it that we need to get rid of him just yet. It's a massive transition. Newman said in his interview, which Nick has spoken about as well, they're bringing in different types of players because they know that the way we were successful by our standards over the last couple of years. Maybe people have found us out. So we've brought in different types of players, namely Paqueta, who for me is going to be that key to unlock a lot of defences. But it's going to take time, guys. It's transition. It ain't going to happen overnight. And people say, yeah, but Moyes can't handle these types of players. Moyes doesn't know how to change. And if we go by his past career, I can't disagree with you. However, what I would say is that this is sink or swim for Moyes now. He's got the players in that are different to what we've had previous. So, yes, I agree. He does need to adapt. But I also agree we need to be patient, and it's not going to happen overnight. Yeah, I found this out today, Peter. So on Thursday against Silkeborg, fake pitch Thursday means don't risk players with dodgy knees. Agreed. When I found this out in our WhatsApp group, I said straight away, and he probably wasn't going to play anyway, but I think someone like Zuma, who we believe is constantly nursing an ongoing injury and always looks injured after he makes a tackle because he gets up limping, Zuma shouldn't play. And I think, to be honest with you, our team on Thursday against Silkeborg will pretty much resemble last week's game against Bucharest. So hopefully Skamaka is over his illness now and, he'll be firing. East side, cheering everybody up as well. Paqueta will leave in January, doesn't want to be part of a side that's six back. East side, come on, mate. Give Moyes time to change. We've got new players in, lots of bodies in. Let's be honest, the players we've brought in, we've all been happy with. We need to give him, the existing players and the new players, time to gel. What's this here from Aldi? Unlike Tuchel, will Moyes get time? Moyes will get time. I'd find it very difficult to see any other reason Moyes being sacked before the end of the season, unless come January, we were really in dire straits and really in a relegation battle. If we're sitting around mid-table and we're still in the cups, namely the Europa Conference League and the FA Cup or whatever it might be at the end stage, although I know it's all being squashed together because of the World Cup, but it would be very difficult for me to say that Moyes will be sacked anytime soon. And I think he would need to be in absolute diabolical situation. What's this question here from Cads? Has a team ever won a cup but been relegated? Yeah, I think it was Wigan, wasn't it? Wigan. Yeah, Wigan. I think did Wigan beat Manchester City in a cup and then got relegated? I've got to check it now. I'm sure it was. Yeah, they did. Yeah, there you go. Wigan famously won the first major trophy of their 81-year existence in 2013 as they stunned Manchester City in the FA Cup final. The Latics would go on to set an unwanted record by becoming the first club ever to win the cup and get relegated in the same season. So, yeah, Wigan Athletic won the FA Cup and got relegated. So, yeah, good question. I knew it was there somewhere. I've got a little bit of football knowledge. Okay, so next little bit of a ramble I've got is a question. I was going to talk about him anyway, but our friend Eastside put the question up earlier in the chat. Now, apparently it's been confirmed that West Ham United, the club, are in talks with defender Dan Axel Zagadou, who left Borussia Dortmund in the summer after spending 5 years at the club, 2017. So Dan Axel Zagadou is 23 years old. He's 6'5". He's a monster of a centre back. He's absolutely massive. All right. He began his youth career. He's born in France. He began his youth career with a team called Cretel. I don't know nothing about. He then moved over to Paris Saint-Germain, and he moved from Paris Saint-Germain to Borussia Dortmund on a free transfer in 2017. Now, when it was clear that he was going to become a free agent in the summer, he'd been linked with all sorts of top European clubs: AC Milan, Manchester United. Apparently, Marseille were offered the chance to sign him, and they refused. And And after a little bit of digging, I think it might be there's a little bit of a question marks about his knees, about his injuries. Now, where is it? So according to Transfer Market, Zagadou has missed a total of 83 games due to injuries over the last 5 years. And it is this susceptibility to injuries that prompted Dortmund bosses to decide against renewing his contract. So it might be the fact that injuries are proving a problem, but it could also be the fact that apparently, allegedly, when his contract expired at Borussia Dortmund, he was being touted around by his agent to some of these top European clubs and was asking for around £200,000 a week, £200,000 a week in wages. It's a lot of money, but as we know, there's no transfer fee. Will West Ham pay that sort of money? I doubt it. He's been a free agent now, though, for a good few months. And I'd imagine that his wage desire must have come down somewhat. His injury concerns are a little bit of a worry. But it's not unusual for centre-backs to get knee injuries. Now, I myself, as a Hackney Marshes centre-backs legend, I had to quit the game because of knee injuries. And centre-backs, as we know at West Ham, centre-backs do pick up a lot of injuries. Ogbonna was out for a long time. Dawson had to play through pain-killing injections. As we said, the rumours are that Zuma is constantly nursing ongoing knee issues, and he looks it sometimes. Aguerd injured in a pre-season friendly, not coming back. Kehra's had his fill of injuries in the past. So defenders are going to get injured. Being a defender in a modern game, you're coming up against some absolute huge strikers, some quick strikers. It puts a strain on your body. You're diving in for tackles. So you will get injuries, and knee injuries are part and parcel of the game. Moyes isn't scared to sign players with injuries. And I think as long as the medical staff are happy with him, it'll be a good signing. Now, when we spoke about this yesterday on our WhatsApp group, Nick quite rightly, and I thought about it, but Nick quite rightly came out pretty quickly and said we've got about 86 centre-halves. We do have a lot of centre-halves, but what you've got to remember is Dawson, his contract runs out at the end of the season, and if rumours are to be believed, we've got a gentleman's agreement with him where we're going to let him leave on a free transfer in January because Moyes was so desperate for him to stay as cover whilst we get some of those back from injury, and such as Aguerd. Also, Ogbonna, he'll be 35 in May. Obviously, last season when he got his injury, he pretty much signed a year extension. His contract runs out in the summer. I can't see or envisage him signing on again. So Dawson and Ogbonna will be two centre-halves we would lose. And then from that aspect, you've got Aguerd, you've got Zuma, and you've got Kehra. Now, for me, I said it from day one when we signed Kehra, and we've had it confirmed, obviously, looking at his statistics playing for the German national team. Kehra predominantly plays for the German national team as a right-back, and he, to me, is built more like a wing-back than a centre-half. Now, I'm not questioning his performances as a centre-half for West Ham so far. I think he's been very good. But you can see by his pace that he would be very good up and down on the right-hand side. And we know that with Soufal, with a loss of form, maybe Kehra could be looking to take that position once Aguerd is back from injury. So if you take those centre-halves out of the equation, we're pretty much left with Zuma and Aguerd. So the signing of Zagadou would make sense if we were happy with his medical history and any medical that he'd have to do before signing for the club. So yeah, it's interesting for me. It'll be good. It would be a good bit of business, and let's be honest, it would be quite an unusual bit of business for West Ham to do so early and get him in preparation for losing some of the centre halves, whether it be in January transfer window or at the end of the seasons when their contracts expires. Peter's made a great point here. I've been singing it all day. If we get Zagadou, it would be hard to make a song for him. I think that's tongue in cheek, Peter. We all know what song we'd sing, and it'll be involving shaking a tree and playing with your pineapples. You know what I'm talking about. East side, look, 2 wins in 13 Premier League games. If we want to pull 2 seasons together to get the statistics, then yes, you're right. But I don't look behind. I look now. The form now isn't particularly great, all right? Forget, I can't, look, I'm not questioning you, mate, at all, because I respect everyone's opinion. But whether you like it or not, come the back end of last year, the players subconsciously were pulling towards Europa glory, which we know failed miserably in the end, I suppose. But a semi-final isn't bad, let's be honest. So I have to, you could say I'm just making excuses, but I think it's fact. I truly do. What else we got here? Aldi says, as the board have given Moyes lots of money, are they expecting a certain type of football, more eye-catching? Yeah, of course they are. This is the most money Moyes has ever had to spend probably in his career, not only at West Ham. And the types of player that we've brought in, I think you'd be looking to see a little bit more exciting football. Now, don't get me wrong. Those of us that remember the days of Harry Redknapp and previous managers, West Ham always played academy football, the way the academy played, passing game, exciting game. But the only thing I'd say is that it's a results-based business. Now, Nick and me, we're polar opposites, and Gary sits in the middle a little bit. Nick wants nothing but entertaining football. Not gun-ho, he just wants entertaining football. But this is the Premier League. One other thing. I'm not allowed to call it the Premiership anymore, but I do that as a joke, which only I know about. Somebody sent me a message, Cravenhead, or whatever his name is, telling me it's the Premier League. So I'll call it that from now on. But anyway, getting back to that. We're playing in the Premier League. We're playing against some of the best teams in the world and some of the not so best teams in the world. And I grant you that some games this season have been boring and poor. And I've said it myself, Brighton was a disaster. Villa first half was boring. But for me, the most important thing is results to some extent. I don't want to be bored out of my mind like we was under Allardyce. I mean, I remember under Allardyce winning games and still booing him. I think there was one against Hull, maybe, where they went down to 10 men and we scraped the 1-0. And he was still getting pelters after the game. But so, yes, to answer your question, yes, I think they will want a certain type of football with the type of players we've brought in. And I expect there to be. And like I said, this is down to Moyes now to get the monkey off his back, get the doubters off his back who say that he can't change. Let's hope he can. And if he doesn't, he's only got himself to blame. I totally agree with you there. Yeah, Zagadou has played about 60 games in 5 years due to injury. He has, but he's at Dortmund. Dortmund, got a lot. Who we got here? Andy says, we have Aguerd, Zuma and Oggy as injury prone right now. Do we need another? Well, I'm not sure. Like I said, Andy, centre-backs get injured all the time, mate. Centre-backs get injured all the time. It's just part of the game, unfortunately, and knees is common. Nick says he's in London negotiating with West Ham, but his left knee is in Germany. Shut up, Nick, you melt. I thought he was working. Get on with it. Where are we? P. Gads. If West Ham United keep playing the way they do, I can see a relegation battle. Might have to get Fat Sam. Might have to get Fat... Oh, bring back Allardyce as well. That's all we need. Another dodgy, injury-prone centre-half. It's not unusual. Enough of the music. Aldi says, don't go anywhere near Zagadou, with those knees. Imagine him, Oggy and Zuma. Yeah, I don't disagree. It's difficult, isn't it? But how many centre-backs have we got that are injured? Eastside agrees with me. Totally agree, Eastside. Kera should go right back. I think he will when Aguerd comes back, or when Moyes trusts Oggy 100%, or when the beautiful man that is Dawson is fully fit and functional again. Talking about Dawson, so as we know, on Thursday we travel to Denmark, Silkeborg. Apparently there's about 400 tickets left. It's down to 31 points if anyone's interested. Bit late, though, to try and arrange travel and accommodation now. But there are 400 tickets left, apparently, for the game. We are playing it on AstroTurf. Always reminds me of Oldham, Frankie Bunn, the Drastic Plastic, Alan McNightmare. It sets alarm bells ringing. But I'm sure it's better quality plastic than we played on in, what was it, 1990, 1991 now. And hopefully we see a pretty similar team to what we had against Bucharest. I'd love to see Downs and Rice again play together. I think Rice can play every minute of every game. I know it's a big ask, but I just think he's a cut above physically, mentally, and everything about him. And I'd like to see him playing alongside Downs again, purely because it's great for Downs to play alongside someone as good as that. I noticed last week on Thursday that Rice was constantly talking to Downs, giving him instruction. And as we know, Downs had a very good game against Bucharest, but it was only Bucharest, and we don't want to get carried away. And these European games will provide a massive encouragement for Downs, give him a lot of game time and a bedding in process. I know a lot of people have been calling for him to start against Everton. I wouldn't say no. I'd be surprised if he was in the team Thursday. I'd like to see Ogbonna start again in his rehabilitation. I'd also like to see Dawson thrown in. No Zuma, dodgy knees, Drastic Plastic, but get Dawson in, start him, see how it goes. We need to get these people back to full fitness so that we can move Kehrer to right back sooner rather than later. Nick says, agree with that. Soufal is a problem. West Ham 58, Zagadou, I think we will be pushing pineapples up a tree for years to come. Yeah. East side, tell it as it is, mate. Nick, Soufal is shit. We are linked with John Egan from Sheffield United in January. I've seen that as well. He's a good player. I'm not sure. I mean, he hasn't got... He's a good player. It'll be quite underwhelming, but then again, so was Dawson when we signed him, wasn't he? And look how he came into it. Kehrer isn't tall enough to play continual at centre half. Best as a right fullback. Totally agree. Totally agree, Rupert. Nice name, Rupert. I've never met anyone called Rupert. I have now. Where are we now? Andy says we can buy one pair of replacement knees and Zagadou, Oggy and Zuma can share them. Hang on. Oh, we got a compliment. Darren Higgins. I really like what you're doing with this channel. I listen to most of your shows and normally leave my generic comment and you blokes always respond. So thank you. Well, I can't respond to that. Well, I can. I can just say thanks to you, Darren. Nice one, mate. Nick, what are you talking? Nick, stop causing mayhem. Does Moyes' due diligence on new signings seems to focus far more on the player behaviour at Tea Party as opposed to their injury record? Nick, be quiet. Yeah? When we signed Zuma, Nick, you were lauding it up. I never heard you mention his injury record once. As soon as he got a little niggle, you started calling his knees. Well, I can't remember what you called them now. Get off. Get out of the chat. Oh, yeah. As Aldi says, for those of you that are watching, please like the show. We've only got 4 likes. Although, if you don't like me and don't like what I'm talking about, then I suppose you don't want to. I find it amazing that one of you lot have gone on about Cresswell. He's been capped for years. Can't defend, attack, and constantly out of position. Him and Sue felt out. No, Cresswell's been a problem as well. I don't disagree with you, but Soufal for me, because he was always getting up and down and putting in decent crosses, he's totally gone backwards. But Cresswell, yeah, we know we need to replace Cresswell. And Emerson is Cresswell's long-term replacement, no? Or someone I know called him the Brazilian Arthur, which I wasn't happy about. Where are we? See if I've got any more comments, lads. Just give me a second. Andy says, so many people have time to watch these live shows, probably a lot of us working from home. No wonder our economy is... Well, if the cap fits, Andrew, if the cap fits. Will Ashby get games? I'd like to see Ashby in on Thursday. He was a strange omission from last week's game against Bucharest, but I know apparently teams were coming in with bids for him to move, namely Newcastle. maybe his head was turned a little bit. Maybe Moyes didn't think he was right for it. Andy says, doubt Ashby will. Isn't he out of contract in the summer? Yeah, I think apparently he hasn't signed anything new yet, new contract-wise. So, yeah, that might be a problem, wouldn't it? I mean, Andrew Fielding, as long as Moyes doesn't play the same tactics on the plastic pitch like Macari did against Oldham, we'll be okay. Yeah, you'd like to think we'll be Silky Borg. I mean, they're on a par with Viborg, so you'd imagine we'd get past these easily. But I never like to count the chickens. Where are we? In my opinion, when Aguerd comes back, he should be starting. Oh, 100%. And I think when Aguerd comes back, that's when you'll possibly see Tilo Kehrer move over to right back position. I think that's when we see Kehrer in what I think is his natural position. So, yeah, totally agree with you, mate. Aldi's got a question. Will the board be happy if Vlasic gets sold for 15 million as pre-agreement, especially as he is playing so well? Yes, he is playing very well in Italy, and I've seen a couple of his games for Torino, but what I would say is, and I'm not taking it away from his performances, the Italian league is a lot slower, so you do get more time on the ball, especially in midfield. It's a lot slower, but I'm not taking away from his performances. Will Torino stump up the money? I don't know their financial, situation. This might be a good thing for him, a bit of a springboard for him to do well in Italy, get back some confidence, come back to West Ham and maybe show Moyes what he's all about at the club. We don't really know how that's going to pan out, but I always wish him all the best. As we know, Masuaku is apparently doing really well in Turkey. You can only read into it what you want. Cresswell, like Lanzini, are physically over the hill. Yeah, and look, we've loved Lanzini. Let's talk about Lanzini. But since his injury all those years ago, he's been very inconsistent because of his injury setback. He's played well now and again. I think that Lanzini will probably go in January. He'll probably go back to Argentina once Moyes gets everyone back to full fitness, and once he gets the players playing the way he wants, and once the players are confident. Come January, if we're in a better position, maybe Lanzini will leave. I thought Lanzini would be part of the team, squad, whatever, that would play a lot of these conference games. But, I mean, even against Bucharest, he was absolutely diabolical. And it pains me to say it, but, I'd imagine Lanzini, as a professional footballer, yourself if you're performing well. And, he hasn't done yet. So we'll see. Cresswell, if we don't get everyone back, we don't get any reinforcements in, this is my argument for 4-4-2. I think if Cresswell and Soufal are there purely to concentrate on defending and not having to worry about getting forwards, because then they can't get back, let's be honest, I think we'll be better set up as a 4-4-2 to accommodate Soufal and Cresswell. But obviously, with the players we've brought in and the players that are going to come back from injury pretty soon, you'd imagine that those two, the 4-4-2 won't be brought into play, and those two will probably be dropped for certain games. I don't disagree. Dabs, hello Dabs. I think that by the Newcastle game being cancelled, that it might be a good thing because all of the team can rest up and it might help with our form. 100%, mate. As much as we as football fans bemoaned losing of the fixtures to some extent, although we respected it because of the Queen, it could have been a blessing in disguise to some degree, mate. No question about it. I just think that with Pickford out, that's a good opportunity for us against Everton on Sunday. However, Newcastle did have or would have had Saint-Maximin, Wilson, and the Brazilian midfielder, is it Guimarães? They would have been injured as well. So they would have been missing 3 key players. So we don't know what would have come of it, Hey, where are we now? Let's got a comment here quickly from Danny. Hello, Danny. How you doing? Vlasic just can't cut it in the Premier League. Yeah, I mean, he has had 2 bites of the cherry. We know he was at Everton a few years back. He went over to Russia, tore it up. He's come back to the Premier League, hasn't really got into it. He's gone over to Italy and he's, in a short time tearing it up as well. you know, the Premier League is a tough league to get into. It's fast paced, it's frenetic. In years gone by, think about some of the world class stars that didn't really cut it when they came here. You know, Shevchenko, he wasn't brilliant when he came over here. I know he was a bit older, but he wasn't brilliant. So yeah, it's interesting. Dabs, I think Kera will be up there for Hammer of the Year this year. Yeah, if what we've seen so far is anything to go by, Kera for me looks very good. And what I do like about Kera is he's very vocal. He does a lot of talking. He gets his arms moving, you know, motioning the boys to come on, pick it up. When Bowen scored the penalty against Bucharest, when they was running back to get in position, he was talking to everyone. You know, he was doing a captain's role. Rice was doing it as well, but Kera was backing him up. So that was good to see. I like Kera. I like his attitude. I've always questioned Zuma's, you know, his vocal skills. Zuma doesn't seem to take charge of situations. And I think actually Zuma benefits from playing alongside people like Oggy, like Dawson, and probably Kera, because they have to talk to him. I don't think he does much talking the other way. You know, Zuma's vocally, he's quite immature, if that's the right phrase. So, yeah, I think, you know, if Kera carries on, you know, he'll probably be up there, up in the running. Aldi asks, will our ticket pricing go up hugely after the board spent so much money? They'll probably go up for the when they sell the tickets to general sale. But, you know, having the amount of season ticket holders that they have and trying to keep that number of season ticket holders that they have, that's good business, because if they ever do come to sell the club, any potential owners can see that they have a ready-made, established season ticket base of whatever it is now. I can't remember how many season ticket holders we have, 40-odd thousand. So, you know, that's good for business. So they might not go up for the season ticket holders. My son's 99 quid for the season. I mean, if he goes every game, it's about a fiver a game. You know, you can't go wrong. I mean, anyway, Rice versus Anana will be interesting. That's not interesting. Rice will dominate him. Don't worry. Jamie Knight, Soucek has pulled his thumb halfway out of his arse the past 2 games. Yes, and Nick, his biggest critic, has even, you know, somewhat praised him over his last 2 game performances. And I think that's why he will start against Everton, because he was starting when he was playing crap. And now he's found a bit of form. I don't think Moyes will drop him for Everton. Don't matter how well Downs plays in the middle on Thursday, I don't think he'll be starting against Everton. But the good thing is, the more games Downs gets in Europe, the more he's match ready and match fitness for coming into Premier League games as and when needed, even if it's being brought on as a sub, if God forbid someone gets injured. Right, well, I think I'm going to wrap up. Done 38 minutes of talking absolute nonsense. Thanks everyone for watching. This was our first go at a daily Ramble live. Yeah, and I enjoyed it. So I do appreciate all the comments in the chat and the questions you've asked. Don't forget, if you have any questions, you can put them on here afterwards. Don't worry about that. Also, if you haven't already, please like the show, because if I don't get enough likes, then Nick's going to sack me. He's already told me that, and we wouldn't want that, would we? Don't forget to subscribe to our Claret and Booze YouTube channel, and if you hit the bell notification, you will be informed as and when we go live or throw any pre-records on. There will be a couple more daily rambles this week, probably pre-recorded, probably done by Nick at some point. We will be doing a show on Sunday after the Everton game, so it'll be a review of the game. It will be back to our classic format of the Claret and Booze Up, where we will have a few drinks. So join us if you can. Watch, have a few drinks, whatever you tipple. Get drunk with us. Talk West Ham. Thanks very much. Come on, you Irons. Bring on Thursday.